Well, hey, welcome to A Slice of Life. Pastor James, I've got Jason here. You might remember Jason from previous episodes. We talked about movies, I think,
Yeah, we
last
did.
time,
We talked
right?
about movies.
Got some flack on that one. I'll be
Yeah,
honest,
that one
right?
was.
So some people liked it, some people didn't like it because they've kind of felt like one person was like, "Well, you're just saying we can watch every movie." No, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just saying that as you're watching movies, look for God in those movies. But yeah, stay away from some movies.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll talk about a movie we can stay away from
Yeah.
today, just in a moment. So, hey, so Jason and I, along with 5 other people, went to the L.A. Dream Center.
Yep.
If you don't know anything about the L.A. Dream Center, started in 1994. You're wearing the shirt.
Ironically wearing the shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's wearing the shirt. 1994. In 94 by Matthew Barnett in LA. Dream Center, basic way to put it is they're there to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Huge homeless ministry, food, clothing, right? Helping foster care systems out, drugs, alcohol, rehabilitation. I mean, just incredible. They service about 50,000 people every single month.
Yeah.
Providing lunch for around 500 people every day.
Yep.
Plus the morning and nighttime doing food as well. Working with kids. I mean, just did everything. So, anyways, we had a chance to go and spend time. And it's your first missions trip.
First missions trip.
My 100th mission trip. I don't know how many I've been on, but I'm not. That's probably exaggerating. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
The experience, especially for those who've never been on a missions trip. I think personally, and I'm not just saying this as a pastor, but I think everybody needs to be on a mission trip at least once in their lifetime.
Okay.
As a Christian, I think it's what we're called to do. And the great thing is, so we can go to L.A. You don't have to leave stateside.
Okay.
You know, for those that are worried about traveling overseas, you know, I do Romania every year. And I know for some people it's hard. You know, it's a long time. It's a 10-day trip. It's fairly long. This one we left on Monday, came back Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we were gone a week, but not quite a full week. But I thought it'd be kind of a fun podcast just to talk a little bit about your experience from a newcomer's.
Okay.
Like, I've never been part of this before.
Yeah.
And then maybe a little bit of my experience, just to get people thinking about going on a missions trip, because there's so many great opportunities. And here we are, we're in Ohio, we're Columbus, Ohio. Dream Center, although started in LA, there are multiples out there.
Oh yeah.
Massive ones. We actually have one here in Columbus. You don't do mission trips to here in Columbus yet, but DC has one as well, right?
Yeah.
New York has a program very similar. Atlanta's got a program very similar. So no matter what part of the country you are, you can actually probably find a Dream Center-like opportunity. So let's just talk about it a little bit. So we left Monday morning, early in the morning. Well, there was no bright because there was no sun.
Yeah.
Early in the morning. And so we get to LA, we do an orientation there, kind of wake up Tuesday morning, and then take it from there. What happened?
So Tuesday morning we did
Kind of explain the week to them.
Yeah. Tuesday morning we did foster care prevention first thing.
Oh, that was so cool.
It was like 8 a.m. and basically we went into this wonderful lady's house, and she had a CPS case open where
Wasn't
it CPS?
CPS, which is
Child Protective Services.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, sorry. I had to make sure I got my acronym correct.
I know. His wife, if you know, Stephanie, I've had her on a couple times, military, Air Force. So we love our acronyms, but I always want to try to explain those. People are like, what? What is that?
Yep.
But anyways.
I apologize.
Yep.
She had a Child Protective Services case open for, I believe it was general neglect.
Right. Which can be anything. And in fact, they were explaining to us the majority of them they have are that. It's not abuse. It's not, and it's really not neglect, what we would think of neglect. Like they're not eating, that kind of, like, just life happens. And I think for her, well, I'll let you keep going.
For her, I believe it was bed bugs.
Yeah.
So she didn't have beds for her kids or herself.
Right.
And so we went in, we built a bunk bed and a twin bed, and then I believe you built a kitchen table, correct?
We did table, yep.
And just to help her have the stuff needed to go ahead and keep her kids and get her case closed.
She basically had got her home, right?
Yeah.
And so a single mom, 2 kids, trying to just make it in that world.
Yeah.
LA is a tough environment, and they're coming in saying, hey, you need a bed for each of your children.
Yeah. Not
right.
Just one.
Yeah.
For both of them.
Right.
And so we spent most of the morning there building the beds, which was for me a fun challenge because they didn't have instructions. I like that stuff. So I had fun helping, and as a parent, I couldn't imagine being where she was. So I was happy that there was an organization out there that came in and was like, "Hey, we understand life happens.
Yeah.
We want to help you keep your kids because
you love your kids.
Yeah.
You're doing the best you can. Unfortunate situation happened, right?
And so then we got done, and they always say they try to pray with everybody as long as they're okay with it. So she didn't speak English, and luckily one of the amazing Dream Center workers, Danny, loved him. Loved his story.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Yeah. You go to LA Dream Center, look for Danny.
Absolutely.
Tell him we said hi.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Danny spoke Spanish, so he translated for us a lot of the times, and then he asked her if he could pray with her, and he prayed for her in Spanish, which just touched her that he was willing to speak her language for her in the prayer. And then afterwards, she asked if she could pray for all of us.
Yeah.
Which they said happens, but not often. Yeah. So it was a beautiful morning.
And she prayed for each of us.
Yeah,
I mean, literally laid hands and prayed a specific prayer. Yeah. My Spanish is very rusty, but I could tell it wasn't the same words for each person.
No, it was an individual prayer for everybody.
Individual.
Yeah.
That was a powerful moment, right?
And it was hard to stand there and not get slightly emotional in the moment because it was a beautiful moment. I mean, this mother was just given another step up in life to help keep her kids and keep a family together. And
because they had given her a list of these are the things you have to get done to get your kids back. And you know, again, you're a single mom, and you know, I was raised by a single mom, so I understand this. Like you know, you're doing all you can to afford whatever you can, and then all of a sudden you have this situation arise. You've got to gut your house. You have no furniture and no finances to really do it. I mean, debt's your only opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, and to have an organization to come in and say, hey, we see you love your kids. You're trying hard. Here, let us help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a beautiful moment.
It was. And it felt like chaos at first, trying to load the truck up. Hey, we need this, and this. And when we got there, we even accidentally brought the wrong thing. So Paige had to go back and get a different item.
Yeah.
But taking the step back to realize I'm here doing this for the Lord to help people.
Yeah.
It seemed to calm the chaos down and allowed us to actually work and show the Lord more than just being there.
Right.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so that was kind of morning day one, right?
Yeah, that was morning day
Tuesday
one.
morning. And then we went back to lunch. Did we go to lunch? It doesn't
we had
matter.
tacos.
We had tacos.
Best tacos of my life.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was incredible. And it was at the Dream Center that these guys, they have a discipleship program, right? That the men and women that are going through this program, they're either coming off the streets or whatever the situation is. And they made these tacos that were, you and I had said they were the best we've ever had. And I've had a lot of street tacos. In fact, we were even told, no, you need to go to this other place, and they're better, and they weren't. They were
better.
That meat,
I think we had
meat was so good.
Tacos 4 different times in LA.
Yeah, and those were the best.
Those ones, hands down, best tacos I've ever had.
I loved it because you came in because I didn't realize what was going on, and I went through the general line, which was like microwave burritos.
Yep, it was microwave.
And I'm eating the microwave burritos, and you show up with these beautiful tacos. And I'm like, what is going on? You're like, street tacos. So I have one of the three that you had.
Three that they gave
right?
me,
I had to go get some.
He took a bite, and his whole face just lit up. Like, oh my goodness. And I was like, I got to get on this.
It was gorgeous. I mean, I grew up on Mexican food, right? I grew up on street tacos, and that was incredible. But back to mission trips. So go to LA for the tacos.
Yeah. No, seriously.
So Tuesday afternoon then. And I think that was the thing. So what did we do Tuesday afternoon? What'd that look like?
Was that Dream Kids?
That was Dream Kids, yep.
Yeah. So we went into Nickerson Gardens, which is a community inside of Watts, which is one of the roughest areas in LA.
Yeah.
That particular neighborhood is known for the gang violence and the shootings, and I believe they said the week before or something there was actively people shooting each other in the street.
Yeah,
a block away from where we were standing.
A gunfight. Yeah.
And so they go in and they pull the kids out of this community, and they teach them
Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all, and if you can imagine, you can check out our Facebook page. We've got some pictures. But all around this community center are just homes. They're apartments.
Yeah.
You want to think of them that way. Section 8, and everyone in there is in Section 8.
Yeah.
In poverty, basically.
Yeah.
And getting help from the government, and that's kind of their world. But yeah.
Yeah, and we had learned going into it that it was going to be different for us this particular Tuesday, because their leadership school was finishing up, and this was the last Dream Kids with those leaders. So they were doing more of like a party fun. They had like water balloons and stuff, but that didn't stop them from first sitting all the kids down in a corner on the skate park, actually.
Yeah.
And just sharing what little bit of the Lord they could before those kids lost interest.
Yeah.
And some of them were fighting with each other the entire time.
Yeah.
And they were talking about fear, and asking the kids like what they were afraid of.
Yeah.
And then asked all of us leaders to find a kid and pray with them over their fears.
Yeah.
And I remember the one kid that I had just didn't want to open up. He wanted nothing to do with anybody in that area. And he asked me to pray for him and pray for his dad because he was in prison.
Right.
And that hit me in the face.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Well, I don't know if you know if you know that when or heard, but the first kid that answered was "I'm afraid of dying."
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know,
I heard
that was the number one. Like I'm afraid of dying. I'm like, whoa, that you always think of like spiders or snakes or
I feel like everybody at a
losing
young
my
age,
cell phone.
Yeah,
something
and I feel
drastic.
like everybody at a young age is afraid of dying, but for those kids, that's a real issue because they've seen so many of their friends at that age die due to the violence in that neighborhood.
Yeah, in that area.
When they said that one was heavy, and you could see the leadership that's there every week. You could see them kind of drop a little bit.
That acknowledgement of that's not
like,
just a random fear. It was something they've experienced.
Yeah.
Right.
And in that neighborhood, we found out just talking to a couple of the community center guys, the community around them is stepping in. The Lakers came in and helped build some basketball courts, and the Chargers are working on a football field and flee from the
Rams.
Red Hot Chili.
Rams.
Oh, the Rams.
Yeah,
Sorry. I apologize, anybody, LA fans. And
flee from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That playground was awesome.
Yeah,
awesome. Good
Beautiful.
job. Good job, Flea.
I also heard he's there like once a week hanging out with the kids because he grew up in that neighborhood.
In that area,
he knows the struggles that they have.
So we were just there, hanging out with the kids basically, and that's kind of what they do. Like once a week in that community.
Yeah.
Right, and they'll spend time there, really trying to invest in that community.
Yeah.
And then so basically every day was like that. And I say like that because each day, in the morning we got up and we had a task, and we did it, right. In the afternoon we did the same thing. We had a task, and we did it.
Yeah.
Whether it was Dream Kids or the foster care, we went to a park at one point and ministered to homeless. Individuals, drug addicted individuals, right? Some real rough situations. Did lawn work one day.
Yeah.
Right. So this place, massive place in LA, 250,000 square feet, which is incredibly large.
Yeah.
700 rooms, 3 workers. That's
guys.
it to maintain the grounds.
Yep.
And so we went and we were able to do some yard work for them. What else we did? Oh, we handed food out, went into Another community handed food out of a box truck, right? And then actually came back and then handed food and clothing and diapers in there for 340 people in less than 2 hours.
Yeah, it was
right. That was
it was controlled chaos.
Yes,
it was.
it was incredible to see the amount of work.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about that one to me was some of them were fire victims from the LA fires that had happened. But you had both sides. You had the one guy, homeless as he could be, probably wearing a tarp. I mean, that's what he wore, and you could barely see him.
Yeah, tarp
and then you had some that looked like they were in suits, or really well dressed.
Yeah,
life just hits everybody.
Yeah, it does.
And I think seeing that is really important for us, especially for some of us that have been sheltered, have lived in this area, wherever area you live in, and maybe you see a little bit of homelessness here and there. But the level of what we experienced this week is something I know you had mentioned you'd never seen before.
Never seen anything like Griffith.
Griffith Park is incredible. But think about us driving around LA.
Oh yeah,
there's tents all over.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Most of the overpasses either have tents on top of or below.
Yeah, and that's how they're living. And I love what one of the guys at the Dream Center had said, that these aren't homeless people; they're people experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
And I love that concept, because I think realizing that many of them, they were just one either bad decision or one crisis away from homelessness.
Yeah.
And they say kind of in America today, that's where a lot of us are.
Yeah.
We're just one bad situation. Not even just a bad choice. It's not like I chose that, but a loss of job, a fire I didn't have enough insurance to cover, some catastrophe that's happened that drives them into that moment, and then once they're there, working themselves back out. And that's one of the things the Dream Center is all about.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that mission trips are all about, is looking at what we do and where we go. And this is Pastor James speaking, is saying, I want to partner with somebody, with an organization that is doing that style of ministry.
Yeah.
Looking and saying, how can we help individuals that are trying to make it right, trying to better themselves, and maybe just need a hand up, right?
Yeah.
Need a little bit of assistance, because when we think about homelessness specifically, and we look at it in the light of it's a crisis moment where somebody who is in that situation because of one wrong decision or one bad item. Well, what happens if one good item happens to them?
Yeah.
I think about the lady that early on they talked about just making those beds for her.
Mm-hmm.
Is that one thing that she needed to get her kids back, to get her life started again?
Yeah.
And how many, and if we talk about Columbus is our area that we live in, how many today, if we as Life Church at Easton could find someone like that, what an incredible ministry that would be for us if we could just go make beds, because we could. You know what I mean? Like for a church, it would be easy for us to pull the money together, the resources together, the manpower together to go make 2 beds.
Yeah.
And a table. We could do that. And you see that in these organizations. And so when I do missions trips, that's a lot of what I'm doing, is finding organizations that do that now and go and help those that need it. The reason we go to Romania, I think it's the 4th poorest nation in Europe. And I work with the Bread of Life out there, Aline. Hey, Aline. And great organization, been doing it a long time. They work with orphans and then the youth in this whole incredible program. But that's their whole thing, is to go and find people that just need a hand.
Yeah.
In that moment, and to raise them up. And that's what I love about Missions Trip, is a couple things. Is one is we're going to an organization, we're helping them.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other part of that is to go, okay, now what can I bring back here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's what I loved about this week, and the reason we did the Dream Center LA was really to steal their ideas.
100%.
Figure out what, hey, what are you guys doing, and how can we partner, or how can we do it ourselves if need be?
Yeah.
Right. So kind of we'll get into that, but we promised them the movie thing, so we'll go there really quickly. Then I want to talk a little bit about what your takeaways from this week. But so we were helping out with the maintenance guys, right?
Yes.
And so we're in a old hospital, basically.
Yeah.
Bought in 94, 93, kind of that era. Hollywood had used it for multiple movies, still uses it for movies, apparently.
For movies, TV shows.
They were trying to buy it for like $14 million.
Yep.
The Dream Center was able to buy it for $4 million. God thing.
Absolutely.
And so we're doing the maintenance thing, and they took us downstairs, right? And you go ahead. I'll let you do it because you're the guy with the chainsaw. So go ahead.
So they're talking about we get downstairs into this real creepy mechanical room.
Yeah.
And
pipes everywhere. And if you've ever seen like Frankenstein, those big old electrical levers that you pull down, those breakers, I had a bunch of those that aren't working anymore, but they're still there.
Unhooked, but they're there.
Right.
I think we got photos of those I might be able to throw in the video.
Yeah.
But so he's going through, Chewy is going through explaining this. And Chewy was our maintenance guy for the day who would come up through Ruben. I forgot his real name. He said he made a joke saying that everybody called him Chewy, and I was like, okay, that's his name from now on.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how they've used this particular room and hallway in a dozen horror movies, including Friday the 13th and a couple of Jason movies. And he's like,
and these are the movies we don't watch. We're not looking for God in any of those movies.
Not at all.
Right? So for those of you that were upset at my last one, let me just clarify. We don't watch horror films. We definitely don't. There's no God in Jason. No. Right there.
Well, it's Jason there is.
Right.
But as he's talking about that, he's like, and we get the beauty of walking down this hallway to the actual maintenance room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, please have Chewy get to the other end and jump out and scare somebody.
It was Gooey, by the way.
Gooey.
It was Gooey, not Chewy.
Right.
Yeah.
Gooey. Dang it. Now I got
That's okay.
I'm sorry, Ruben.
He's another great guy. Go
amazing.
When you after you meet Danny, go meet Ruben.
Everybody that we met that they had hired out of that discipleship program just had a completely new take on life. And
incredible stories.
Incredible stories. And you could see that they were doing everything they could every day to show Jesus in their life without even saying it.
Right.
It was just like, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
So we get to the other end, we're talking, we're getting ready to go out and do our landscaping for the day, and Gooey goes walking past me with a chainsaw. And I looked at Pastor and I was like, I need a photo with that chainsaw in that hallway. Like, there's not an option. I have to. So I walked over to Gooey mid-conversation with Lupe, who was telling us what we were going to do. And I was like, hey, Gooey, can I steal the chainsaw for a second? He's like, I guess. I was like, I got to get a photo in the horror room hallway. And he goes, oh, yeah, take it. Have fun.
Yeah.
So there's a couple photos of Jason in the hallway with the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Just like the movies.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because they took the battery out because they didn't trust you with it.
They didn't trust me with the chainsaw. I was like, dang it. I wanted to like turn it on, just take off running. That
That's
hallway was
why
like
they took the battery out. Hey, kids, don't run with a chainsaw ever, even without the battery or the gas.
Yeah.
Don't ever start it. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a creepy little area. But
it was.
Again, an old hospital that has been converted from the darkness into light.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing.
Such powerful.
Right. To see it and I think working with those guys, you mentioned that most of the time we worked with individuals, or maybe 50% of the time, some that had been through their discipleship program, so either homeless or drug addicted or something, have gone through this program, and now they're either hired or they've continued to volunteer. And then we had a lot of volunteers that were there as well that were helping.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really powerful to hear their story.
Mm-hmm.
Each one would tell their story as we got ready to do what we were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it I do what I do? And I think that is such a powerful thing. I wish Life Church understood. I wish every one of us understood the power of our story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think, a couple of team members had mentioned it to me. Oh, Pastor, their stories are so great. Even that one that and she didn't have much of a story,
Mm-hmm.
from a, in comparison
Yeah.
to some of the other guys,
Yeah.
I was doing this and this, and
Yeah.
life was horrible, blah, blah, and hers was less
Yeah.
of that, but it still was super powerful. And I looked at him and said, well, your story is just as powerful.
Yeah.
Because you never know the impact of your story of this is who I was, this is what was going on in the moment, and this is what God did, and this is who I am now. That's the testimony of Jesus. The Revelation talks about the revelation of Jesus. This prophecy of what God can do is the story of what He did in my life.
Yeah.
And so if He did it in my life, He can do it in yours. And we don't know who we're talking to, and that as we're talking, they may have gone through the same thing we've gone through.
Yeah.
We don't know it, but the very story that we have, and that was to me, that was one of the most impactful moments. As I listened to all these stories, is trying to figure out again, how do I convince our church and how do I convince you guys listening to start sharing your stories?
Yeah.
My wife, she's a great example of the bad testimonies of life. But I say bad, I'm talking quote unquote bad, right? Because she doesn't have that, never walked away from God, was a good girl, right? Did the right things, other than marrying me, she messed up there. But hey, we've been married 30 plus years. I think we're doing okay.
Yeah.
But right. So many were like, oh, I don't have a testimony. Or, I don't have no, she has an incredible testimony of the resilience of God and what God can do with an individual that keeps going strong.
Yeah.
Just as much as any one of us who've have the for me, a backsliding story, right? Or anyone else who's gone through and didn't know God until something happened, right? And I think just telling the story, that was like, when I think about, I took a lot away from this trip. But that was probably one of the biggest things, was just that reminder that, man, we've got to learn to tell our stories more often.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what, if you think through this week, and I know there's a lot, and we got some time, but man, what was a big takeaway for you?
Honestly, the attitude and mindset of, this is where I was, this is where I am, and just the unafraidness to share, to just show that image of Christ without trying. That's what I took away. I took away more from Danny and Gooey and the guys that hit rock bottom, found Dream Center, came out a completely different person with a completely different attitude on life. And it gave me a breath of fresh air in ministry, which it's really easy. And yeah, I know I'm new at some of the ministry positions I'm in now, but it's really easy to just get stagnant in leadership, and because you do the same stuff day in and day out.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't feel like what you're doing is making a difference.
Yeah.
But after seeing those guys and watching the way they interacted with everybody they encountered, it didn't matter if it was one of us or if it was one of the homeless. It was the same, just Christ in everything.
Yeah.
And that was what I took away.
Even the little things mattered to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm hoping now that I'm back, I don't fall back into that.
Yeah.
I hope I can keep that attitude that I picked up while we were there and just keep running forward with it that way.
And that is, when I talk about missions trip, that's one of the biggest things is we do. That's why I love people going on mission trips, because they get out of their world.
Yep.
They see something different.
Yeah. And
they realize that, you know what, I'm in a rut. More than likely, can I talk to you? If you've never been on a missions trip, or it's been a long time, you're probably in a rut and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Right. That you need something to shock the system a little bit. And going on these, even like in LA, which LA was, I explained to Jason, was the tapas of ministry, of missions trips. Tapas being small little bites right? You know, this
favorite quote of the entire trip,
right?
well,
Because
that
we
can
did.
talk about.
Yeah, that we could talk. Yeah, we don't want to talk about what happened in that toilet that one day. Good Wednesday. We don't want to talk about Good Wednesday.
Don't talk about Good Wednesday.
So we had to share a room. Let me just tell you that 4 guys in a room with a lot of tacos. There you go. Okay, we won't share any more than that. But where was I? The topics of missions trips. You know, because again, every single morning and afternoon was different.
Yeah,
every single time. So there was we never did the same ministry twice. You know, which is great because again, especially for a newbie, right, who's never done ministry before in this capacity, it gave you a really good grasp, right? Well, now if you go to Romania with me, we spend the first couple of days at the youth transition program in Bucharest.
Okay.
Right. And so we're hanging out with high school, college age guys, kind of dealing with that ministry a little bit. And then they do a massive food truck ministry that goes to Ukraine. They're actually still bringing food into Ukraine, helping them out. And as well within Romania, bringing food. So you deal in that food and clothing, that style of ministry. And we're working on their building that they bought and building that up so that, you know, you're there for 3-4 days, kind of doing the same thing for 3-4 days. Then we go into Brostan, which is in almost middle Romania, more northern, old uranium mining community.
Okay.
And where we're working with orphans the whole time. And so we do maintenance during the day and we're hanging out with the kids at night.
Okay.
Maintenance during the day, and with the kids, you know, so it's the same thing, and which is great. I love Romania. It is my favorite time of the year. I can't wait for September to roll around to get to go. I get to build such great relationships with the kids. Those kids know me now. Been there 5-6 years. You know, so when I walk in, they all remember the tall guy. You know, the blue eyes, because they have a lot of blue eyes guys there, right?
Yeah.
The tall guy with the blue eyes, you know, they know who I am. I built that relationship, and you got to build new relationships with them as well as the workers.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a really cool thing where what we just did was kind of blew in, you know, and met a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You know, and you and I are going to remember Ruben. We're going to remember Danny, right?
Yeah.
For a little bit. But we'll probably never see either one of those again.
Yeah.
But I know I get to see Andre again and Maria. And right, there's all these people I know that I'm looking forward to. You know, I get to talk to them. My favorite person in the world, Elena. Elena's like this tall. If you ever get to see any of the Romanian pictures, I take a picture with this one girl. She's an adult every year, and it cracks me up because she's tiny and I'm huge, right? I'm just like tower over. But she's she's a daughter to me. Yeah. You know, when I hang out, I get to talk with her all the time, and you know, she's in my WhatsApp as my favorite person. You know, that's why I call her my favorite person. So that's a total different mentality missions trip.
Absolutely.
Right. In El Salvador, we go to El Salvador as well. I'm not going this year. You know, that's a different style where we do more medical outreach. Okay. We get to spend a little time with some of the kids in that area. We do some food ministry as well, but it's like the in between of Romania and Dream Center, right? Less relationships, you know. Yeah. But we do get to do kind of the similar stuff. You know, you're either doing outreach for the medical outreach, you're doing a food thing with the church that we normally do, or that we're hanging out with the kids. You know, so each one's a little different, and I think that takeaway from those is again to come back and hopefully go, okay, how do I keep this feeling alive?
Absolutely.
You know, where I don't get back into the rut because I realize I'm missing something. Because I honestly, the only reason we go to Romania is again to get us out of our world, to get us somewhere else so that we can bring that back here. Right. Yeah. Because I could do that same ministry here.
Absolutely.
But I need inspired sometimes, right, to get out of the norm. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of great places around the U.S. to do that style of ministry.
Yeah.
Plus, like when we go to Romania, because of the poverty there, our U.S. dollars and our effort there is incredible.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, I can say this because it's my podcast.
Okay.
Those of you that have gone on missions trips and you spend the majority of time traveling, tourist activities, that's not a missions trip, right? Missions trips is about being engaged in the community.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember I went to Liberia, West Africa, very difficult situation. And I had some high school girls in my church that wanted to go with me the next time, you know, because they had been to Uganda. I think it was Uganda, you know, and they came back with these great sightseeing trips and safaris that went on and pictures of orphan kids that they got to hang out with half a day.
Yeah.
I said, understand, if you're going with me, we're working nonstop. If we get a break at some point, we might go somewhere. But there's no toilet facilities. There's no that's Liberia, right? It's not about that. When we go to Romania, we get to go sightseeing. Yeah, you know, but we're with the kids, and I've heard so many horrible stories. And so let me talk to those of you that are the horrible story people. These are the stories from the missionary leaders. They're like, so many churches come, and once they get the fill of spending time with the kids and they're done, they're tired, they're out. Yeah. They leave. And I hear those stories everywhere I go, every missions trip I go on. I'm hearing these horrible stories about churches that go in and they're going in and they're like, I've been with the kids for 3 hours. I need a break. I want to go back to my hotel room. Yeah. Right? That's not what Jesus would do. That's not what Christians do. No. If you're going overseas or going even locally to minister, you're ministering the whole time. Yeah. Right? We sleep when we talked about it. We got home Saturday night. Sunday morning we came to church. Like, long time no see. How'd you sleep? Great. I don't remember going to sleep. That's when you sleep. Yeah. And you know, Romania, man, I'm up to the point where I usher the kids off to school. Okay. They're the first thing that they see in the morning. That's my special time with the kids. So if you go with me to Romania, stay in your room. They're my kids, right? But I want them to know that I'm there, right? Yeah, they see me in the morning. We have lunch with them, right? We have dinner with them. Every waking moment, we spend time with them, and it's a passion of mine, a pet peeve, a frustration to hear all these horrible stories from missionaries who are dealing with these churches that want catered to. Yeah. And they're going on a missions trip. Well, you know,
we had those horror stories at Dream Center, and after hearing you talk about how it is when you go to Romania and other places, Dream Center is a relatively easy beginner missions trip for anybody. And like the day we were in the kitchen, I believe his name was Jordan, was the guy in charge, and he just looked at us as we made 240 plus half-pound hamburgers, which that's the type of serving they do at the Dream Center. They don't just give you a little bit. We made enough half-pound hamburgers to serve everybody that lived at the Dream Center. Yeah. One night for dinner. Right. Half-pound hamburger is huge. Yes. And we cranked those out, what, 45 minutes maybe?
Oh, I don't know. There was four of us, two just cutting them out of the package, and then two of us just forming half-pound, right? And weighing them and making sure that they were right. Yep.
We got done, and I looked at Jordan, and I was like, okay, we're done with the burgers. What else can we do? And he just looked at me like dumbfounded. Like, A, it didn't take us that long. B, we were ready and eager to do the next thing. Yeah. And afterwards, he was just like, I really, really appreciated your guys' dedication to continuously, hey, what can I do? Hey, what can I do? Hey, what can I do?
I mean, how many different things did you do?
I think I did 3 or 4 at least. Right? So I did burgers, the French toast, casserole. Cameron and I cut, I don't know how many. I think we went through.
Were they hot dog buns?
I think they were hot dog buns. Yeah, like fancy hot dog buns. And
for French toast casserole in the morning, which was actually good. You didn't have it, but I did.
It was good. Yeah.
It's like a really good bread pudding.
Yeah, basically. I think we went through 20 or 30 dozen of those bags.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
of those buns.
Right.
And then we jumped to dicing up probably 30 pounds of ham.
Oh, yeah, for the salad.
For the salad the next day, which I'll be happy if I never really have to cut ham again. But it was just...
Yeah.
That one was the one where it's like, man, will this ever end? Because it's so tedious.
Yeah. But to your point, so yeah, I helped out with the hamburger. We did the hamburgers first, and then I cut bacon.
Yep.
Diced bacon up, and then I did tomatoes. 10 gallons of tomatoes, diced tomatoes.
Yeah.
Then I helped out with potatoes.
Yep. You helped with the last like 5.
And
potatoes.
then we started cutting that butter.
Oh my goodness.
That 40. I think it was a 40-pound block of butter that we had to cut. We had that big old cleaver thing that you had to put. I had to put all my weight into to get it through that frozen butter.
Yeah. And then we were cutting it into like soap bar size hummus.
Yeah. But to your point, that was it, right? And you could tell that's what they're not used to. That.
Yeah.
They were used to, okay, we're going to give you this assignment and you'll get done and we'll be done for the day.
Yeah.
And he began to look for things for us to do. Like definitely at the end, the butter was not even on their radar to even do. But they're like, oh, you guys still have time. And then we went and helped load furniture.
Yep. They had a bunch of furniture they were donating to another organization to help.
But those moments matter so much to them.
Yeah.
And that's what annoys me all the time is when we go on these missions trips and I hear the horror stories of, this is all they could do.
Yeah.
You know, they could do the 240, but we did 250, I think, but it was 240 burgers, what we were supposed to do. We end up having some more.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, okay, that's kind of the level of expectation.
Yeah.
Is like bare minimum. And I'm thinking, I'm here for a week. I'm going to give you everything I've got and then some.
Yeah.
I'm looking for more opportunities in Jordan and even Gooey or Ruben, you know, what we got done, we wasted a lot of time talking before and after.
Yeah.
Because again, we exceeded their expectations.
Yeah. And I think
we only exceeded the expectation because of you other churches that have gone out there and done poor ministry. and I know that may sound harsh, but I've been to, again, dozens of missions trips.
Yeah.
And I've heard the same thing every single time. I've actually been on a missions trip with a group that is the epitome of poor ministry.
Okay.
And it drove me absolutely insane. In fact, it was my first time to Romania.
Okay.
And I was part of this group, and we did a ton of sightseeing. We spent very little time with the kids, and it irked me so bad. I called who then was the big dog of Romania. He was the administrative bishop of Romania, who was the leader of that trip. And I told him, I'm never going on a trip with you again. And I'm running my own trip to Romania, which he was trying to stop me.
Okay.
Because he's like, well, no, I'm this is who I am. But I told him, I said, hey, I'm there to do ministry. I'm not there to sightsee.
Yeah.
We're going to have a day where we're going to take it easy. We're going to rest a little bit, recuperate. So we don't, grow weary in doing good.
Yeah.
But I'm there to be with the kids.
Absolutely.
And so this idea that I spent an hour with the kids and that's good enough, that's a joke. Right? I'm going to work. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to eat, and then I'm running until I can spend time with the kids, which we do at lunch. Yeah. And then I'm running again while they're napping and they're taking their homework, But then as soon as they're ours, man, they're ours. We're playing with them. We're out there, right?
Yeah.
Spending that time and seeing it firsthand, seeing the bad example firsthand.
Yeah.
Just lit a fire in me even greater to say, we are going to be the epitome of what it looks like to be on mission.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to work as hard as we can. We're going to get as much as we can done. We're going to ask. And I've been so blessed that this church, my last church as well, has the same attitude. No matter what trip we've ever been on, wherever we've gone, we've always exceeded the expectation. We're always asking for more. And And even Aline in Romania, he knows us so well. You know, we already kind of know what we're going to do, what we're going to work on. But every year it's the same thing. He goes, wow, you guys got all that done. You know, like I got to find something else for you to do.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't want to overwork us.
Yeah.
You know, but I think if I could just plug that in, if you are a missions director or you go on a missions trip, understand those workers, they're tired, right? They're working hard, and for you to come in, for a missions team to come in, it's a lot of work for them to get ready for a missions team to come in.
Yeah.
And if you come in expecting things, right, you're just making their job harder. You're supposed to be there to relieve them, to inspire them. And I think one of the Drink Center people actually said that. Like, when you guys come in with this level of energy, you excite me.
That was our last. That was the fire relief.
Oh yeah.
That guy. He.
Right.
I don't know if I ever caught his name because the day was such chaos.
Melvin or Marvin or something. Yeah.
And I thanked him for helping me in the chaos that my position was, because the box we were given was a wreck and was hard to work with. And
and unfortunately,
there was a language barrier.
And one of the volunteers you were working with was volunteering to get stuff.
Yeah.
Not volunteering to give stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, again, what I'm talking about, right?
She was. I was mentally drained at the end of that 2 hours. Physically, I was fine. It didn't feel like almost 400 people through the line, but mentally, I just needed to fall asleep because it was a lot. And he was, after about 15 minutes, he was standing there working with me, trying to help keep the peace and everything. And I remember being like, "Hey, thank you so much for bringing that calmness and everything." And he said, he was just like, you guys coming in with that attitude and willingness, because he's like, I saw the hustle, I saw what you wanted to be doing, but you were being fought at every step.
Right.
He's like, that brought refreshment to me. Because doing this day in and day out, you get burnt real quick, and then you get a group like us that came in with that eagerness to serve. He's like, that's going to keep me going for a couple more weeks till we get another group like that. And I was like, you guys have 5, 6, sometimes 10 groups a week here. And it's going to be a couple more weeks till you get a good group. That's really sad.
Right. Because they're managing that.
This is a missions trip.
Right.
And I think that was why I had so much issue with In-N-Out. The obsession of going to In-N-Out.
Don't bag on In-N-Out Burger.
Oh my goodness.
But sorry. I think that's it. I keep going to Romania because I love Romania. They're a passion of mine. We were the first group that had gone since COVID.
Oh, okay.
And again, I thought about that. I was like, so we're here just a little over a week, and it's been, I think, 2 years. And it's 2 years since any other group had been there.
Oh man!
So can you imagine the relief, the excitement? One of my favorite stories actually is from Liberia, West Africa. Myself and Pastor Gary Frazier. Hey, buddy. We're there where if you don't know anything about Liberia, West Africa, birthplace of Ebola.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. 16
years of civil war. It was a horrible situation that was going on. And we were really the first outsiders to come, and the people, the workers, they were just singing praises to God. We are blessed because of that. Us 2 Americans showed up, we weren't doing much. I mean, we had started work on the wall. What I mean by that, they worked on it. We couldn't work. I tried to shovel for a little bit, and the humidity, the heat there, and I was in pretty good shape. I still couldn't do much, but just the appreciation of that, it lit a fire underneath them.
Yeah.
Right. And that was, again, that was because it had taken such a long time. But Romania is the same thing. Even now, every year we go back, they don't get a whole lot of groups because not a lot of people going to Romania. But even then, it's that, hey, you guys are here for a week and you inspire us to keep going, and then to round it all back again. And then there's the other groups that they just suck the life out of them. And man, if I'm going on a missions trip and I'm sucking the life out of the workers because I'm making them work harder.
Yeah.
I'm taking their areas, and one of the biggest things I tell people, if you go on a missions trip with me, realize this, that we're there working for them.
Yeah.
So every morning we wake up and the schedule may completely change. Deal with it. Right? We are flexible. We're going to do it the way they want us to do it. We're not the experts. They're the experts. They're on the ground. It may not make any sense to us, but we're there to make their life easier.
Yeah.
And if we've got to deal with something or we got to eat weird food, we eat weird food.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or we starve. We don't complain about it. That's just what we do. And it is because it's not just about the kids.
Yeah.
Right. And like going to Romania, it's about the workers.
Yeah.
Inspiring them because they're the ones that got to be with them the other 350 days of the year.
Absolutely.
And they need that. So I loved, again, I loved going on our trip and I told the group at the end how much I appreciated them. I mean all of that.
Yeah.
That seeing the level of work that our team did and the non-complaining and the fun, the joy that we had in some hard situations.
Yeah.
Going to the park, man, that was for most people that was intense. If you had done it before, it wasn't that bad. But I think I was the only one on the team that had done it before. So
to that level,
to have that experience and I think it matters. And so we'll end it with this. So somebody's listening and they've never been on a missions trip. What would you tell them?
Go in, like he said, being flexible, ready to serve, not with your own agenda, but just going. Like, that was the one thing that, for me, it was, I went in to get out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I tried to touch my phone as little as possible.
Yeah.
And because if you don't know me, I'm the media guy. I take the photos, I do all the videos. I'm going to edit this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm a background worker. So for me to go in and be the guy trying to talk to people actively smoking meth in the park, that's not me. So going in, I made sure not to play with my phone, to take pictures, to drop back into that. What do you need me to do? And how can I do it to the best of my abilities that God has given me?
Yeah.
Because the whole point of going is to serve, not to serve you, no offense, or the people at Dream Center or myself. I went in to try and help show God's love in any situation we were in.
Right.
So, I mean, just go in open-minded and ready to do what the Lord put you there for.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
That's what I got.
I like it. Yeah. You're right on, because again, I think that's where you get the most out of it.
Yeah.
Because as you walk away and you realize I gave beyond my ability, which is what we as Christians should do. Because when we give beyond our ability, what we're saying is we gave what God was able to.
Absolutely.
Right? We open ourselves up and we pushed ourselves. And you talk about guys smoking meth. I mean, it's a surreal moment to be to sit next to a guy who's lamenting the loss of his family.
Yeah.
And he's addicted to these drugs as he's smoking, right?
Yeah.
As he's on the pipe, and I want to get away from this as he's doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're at that point, none of us is really equipped to talk to him.
No, not at all.
Other than we're equipped by the Holy Spirit to talk to him in that moment. And this guy from Columbus, Ohio, I don't know how to tell him how to get away from that stuff, but I know I can tell him about Jesus. And so when we go into any situation, wherever you're going, whatever missions trip you're going to go on, I think going in that heart, like you're saying, just being willing to do whatever, being flexible and saying, okay, I may have never done this before, but hey, if I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, I've accepted him as my Lord and Savior, and I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, right? Then I'm equipped to go and do whatever ministry that I'm going to face, because my God will equip me. Will work in that. Absolutely. And let me just tell you again, if you've never been on a mission trip, find one, even if it's just a couple days. Get out of your comfort zone, get somewhere, or even that, find a place in your local community. Find some place that they're doing some ministry, homeless ministry, foster care systems. Right, there's a lot of different opportunities out there to serve. And then when you go and serve, hey, would you actually serve and not be served? No expectations, no requests. They want you to empty the garbage, then empty the garbage and singing how great our God is in that moment. So thanks, Jason. I appreciate this. Again, missions are a big thing in my life. I think they're so critically important for every Christian to go on a mission trip. But follow us on social media, any of our avenues, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Right, we're on all of those, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok. We're on there a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Right, there's some stuff on there. But I'd love to hear some comments, any questions, any thoughts that maybe you have, some topics that you want us to talk about. I'm willing to talk about anything. So let's get the conversation started. So appreciate you guys. Love you. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon.